Yo, 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 it is your boy Nice versus Wild, and you're listening to another episode of Beowulf Sessions. Thank you for tuning in. Now, I highly recommend watching this session on YouTube because the visuals just looks absolutely crispy because I'm in New Zealand, I'm in Auckland, and I'm in my studio in South Auckland. And anytime I get here, you know it's going to be good. So go watch the visuals on YouTube. It's probably going to be up there. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or any other audio platforms, I really appreciate your ears. And honestly, every week we're showing up, and you're showing up in your own journey and your own craft, and I genuinely appreciate it. Genuinely appreciate all the messages, all the comments. They say Nice is a word of affirmation lover, so really keeps me going. So any reviews, comments, keep sharing it. Really keeps these sessions alive. And honestly, every single week there's always someone new that reaches out and says how much they've been loving it or hating it, and it really keeps me going. So this week I'm going to be talking about, I think last week we had an amazing guest on, one of my best friends, Peyton. If you haven't gone and listened to that episode, I highly recommend it. So many good, valuable lessons and insights in there. And I think this week I'm going to do a reflective diary of the last sort of 2 weeks, because as you know, the format of these Beowulf sessions has sort of gone from it's like a learnings that I've sort of have in a 7-day window, which I sort of share with you and literally just give that with principles, ideas that kind of helps me, and hopefully you can apply in your own craft and your own venture as an artist, as a musician, as a writer, as a creative, as a business owner, as a mother, as a dad. I feel like it can really be all the things that we sort of talk about on Beowulf sessions can really be applied to any area of your life. And I think if you can get one area right, you can sort of replicate that in other areas, because I genuinely believe that if we can create some sort of consistency in areas of our lives, we can really create huge impact for the long term. But yeah, before we get into the nitty gritty of the things that I wrote this week, I just want to say, if this is your first time listening, my name is Nigel Shishel. I am a full-time creative entrepreneur from South Auckland. I was born in a rural Fijian village called Lambasa, Bunileka, and my mission in life is to write a story that beats longer than my heart. Now, these Beowulf sessions are super candid, and I do also do like reels and like really write my scripts and stuff and talk about my ideas and the stuff that I release on social media sometimes, like especially when I'm in the studio, right? And I did some reels in the studio, which I really had to think about in terms of like the stories I wanted to share, and they're all real life stories as well. But these conversations are just like, most of it is just me speaking out of my heart of the things that I genuinely care about right now. And obviously some of those things change over the time, and I've realized it actually took me 10 years to become a full-time creative entrepreneur. And I've been really talking about that a lot lately, because I feel like even if I can sort of spark a light in one person to make them believe that, hey, they can do it, they can pull it off, in the creative venture or in their own business ventures, I genuinely believe that if I can do that, I've lived my core purpose to the T. So I've been talking about that a lot, and I think I just kind of want to reflect on, like, if you knew me 5 years ago, you wouldn't have known that, like even I wouldn't have known that I could even have that self-belief of, like, creating a studio, creating a movement, and then working on my businesses and making it sustainable, and then becoming a full-time creative entrepreneur. Like, all of these things, like, it was a step process of creating sustainability. And I think I've been starting to talk about it a lot, and I'm going to be sharing a lot more stuff. And I'm going to do an episode on like how I made 150K, and it took me 10 years of failing and 1 year of success to pull it off. And I'm writing that episode at the moment, so hopefully it comes out soon, because I really want to give you guys like tangible things that you can apply in your own business to really get going as well. So I've been talking about stories, and I think I talked about one of my first ever jobs was the KFC drive-through worker in the windows, and the conversations, the interactions. I learned so much, getting sworn at, and dealing with hungry people. People are angry when they're hungry. You know what I mean, right? And like all those learnings from like my first jobs and dropping out of university, and like you name it. Like I feel like I was like set for failure. And I think, having the switch and, going through a genuine heartbreak. And if you go back and listen to all the other episodes leading up to this session that I think we're on number 63, you'll kind of learn the idea of like how we got here. And if you are in a position where you feel like that, you're not getting anywhere, I genuinely believe that don't ever work in like 12-month periods or like 2-year periods or 3-year periods. Work in decades. And I'm a big believer in that. And if you really, really care about something truly, like genuine impact isn't going to happen overnight. And I congratulate people that can make it happen in a short period of time, because mad love to you. But I also believe that, real consistent impact and progressive change in yourself and evolution is way more valuable if you can be in the process for long periods of time. And that's like 5-10 years, because you really start to learn about who you are, especially in your 20s. And I think that 20-year, between 20 to 30 is like the full experimental, just go out and take every opportunity, learn from it, and have the courage to, say no to the things that you don't give a shit about and do the things that you really want to care about, because, you're on that swing at the moment. And I think now going into my 30s in November, I genuinely believe that like, I'm so glad that I kind of backed myself in situations and times where, deep down, my limiting beliefs was convincing me that like, man, you can't do this. You can't pull it off. You can't pull it off. And I think it's realizing that, that you can, like, and I hope that like my stories and the things that I talk about, even on social media, it's definitely not coming from a place where I'm trying to like boast an idea or like, trying to like talk myself up. Definitely not. Like, it took me years. Like, to this day, I'm still making so many mistakes on camera and visuals, and I'm trying to really improve my communication style so I can be better at articulating my stories and my ideas. And I think it's all a learning game, right? But I really genuinely try hard to share stories that I feel like if a little Nigel 16, 17, 18 heard it, they would be like, fuck shit. If that fella can do it with dropping out, can't spell, absolute like, crazy on most occasion. If that guy can do it, then I can definitely do it. And I reckon he can do it. That's for sure. So these sessions, like I said, was like, it can apply to anybody, right? And I think I'm like isn't it crazy? Like, we're like 63 episodes in now, and now I'm finally like getting to a point where I've got like a structure of ideas, and I never used to think like this, but because I started doing these sessions, and if you go back to list number 1, it was so shit, but now I've figured out a layout. Like, every single week I'm going to talk about my entrepreneurial journey, and I'm also going to talk about like, the values that I truly care about. And also the key foundation of the Be a Wolf movement is inspiring people to create self-belief, because I feel like, self-belief is the foundation to anything. If you feel like you only belong in a certain position, or this is all you deserve, or this is all I'm good for, like, that mindset is only going to keep you in one position. And it's about creating like an abundance mindset, which can help you thrive, and that doesn't bring you down. And that's what I try to do every single Monday. And I genuinely believe that I hope my stories help and inspire you. And my whole why was to always inspire the next generation ever since I started it. I remember I used to be that crazy kid running around on the street, recording videos and trying to make people feel good. And I remember before the Be a Wolf movement started, why I wanted to start it. Like, and I had no idea. Like, I feel like you need to realize this. Nobody knows like what they're doing in life. Like, to be honest, like, hands down, it's about opening a door and opening another door and then just trying things out. Okay, I didn't like it. Okay, I'll try this out. But if something really makes you tick, right? And I've said it, like, sometimes it doesn't happen just straight away. It takes a long period of time. And I think it's in the process of starting and self-discovery that we start to build a structure, and the mess starts to clean up. And a lot of times we don't want to go in the mess because we're too scared of the mess. And I've done that on multiple occasions where think back and I'm like, shit, maybe I could have done that a few years ago, but I was just too scared of the mess. I didn't want to clean the mess up. And I think that's a great point, because a lot of times, like, I think that starting point is usually the hardest. And I remember when I used to record videos and talk in front of a camera and try and make people laugh and stuff like that. The component was, and I really want you to think about this, and I think this is a great point, is if you want to do something, right, think about how is this going to help somebody, or how is this going to solve a problem in this world? And that's the foundation. How are you going to create value that's going to solve a problem or help somebody to make their life a little bit easier? It could be anything, right? It could be a product, could be a service, could be you talking in front of a camera and hopefully inspiring the next generation. It could be anything. It could be anything that's creating some sort of positive change in others, because like I said, the world's moving quickly, and I'm probably speaking very quickly in this session as well. But I think there's a lot of strength in understanding that, whatever you want to do, if you just, the base layer is, okay, how is this going to help somebody? And I'm just saying what kind of helped me to start, because I didn't know the direction I wanted to take Be a Wolf at all when I started 4 years ago, but now I'm finally, the puzzles, bro. The puzzles coming together. It's crazy how the puzzle's coming together now, and I'm so glad I never gave up on it. And because it's when the puzzle comes together, it's like you're like, oh shit. It's like that, Steve Jobs line, connecting the dots backwards. It's 100% that. And if you're listening to this session and you're listening, I want you to remember that you are a visionary. Hands down, you are a visionary, because you see the future. And you know how the story goes. And now what you're doing is you're just connecting the story all the way from that point to this point, right? Whatever you're doing. But I believe that like I said, the mess sometimes can only be cleaned up by not understanding what you're doing first and giving things a go. And if this session is literally everywhere and you're not getting anything, I just want you to remember that you can clean up the mess, even if it takes you 10 years. And the mess is actually a good thing. And I say this line all the time, you got to love the process, but don't forget to process the love, because it's never about obtaining or the incentive or the outcome. It's about being in it. And I genuinely, like I said last week or a couple of weeks ago, this is genuinely my happy place. I feel like no one can take that away. And I hope you can feel that energy when you listen to these episodes every single week. And hopefully it inspires you to really get moving every single week in your own venture, in your own story that you're writing, because I genuinely believe that everyone's on their own path, and it's you versus you every single day. You're not versing anyone or comparing with anybody out here. And I think if you do that, you'll build real connections, real relationships, and like I said, we ain't never selling out. That's for sure. Wanted to quickly touch on that. A couple of other things, obviously I just spent 30 minutes talking about one point here, which I wrote down in my diary. It was that evolution has been incredible to watch. If you haven't been a part of it, at least you got to witness it. And that was number one point I wrote in my diary this week, because I just sat back a little bit and I watched my video that I released on Be a Wolf Sessions on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And I watched that video, and then I watched my first video. Man, I was genuinely proud of myself, hands down. I was able to articulate a story. I don't think it got much engagement on social media, because I never really give a fuck about engagement. But it's so cool to, see how much I've improved my conversations and my ability to tell a story. Then now I'm just, trying to really, get really detailed in terms of how I always say, or keep going, keep going now. So, okay. Yeah, you get the gist. The evolution. And I want you to, while I'm talking about this, think about your own evolution that you're going through, and realize that this is whatever path you're on. you're not going to be there forever. Like literally 10 days from now, you're going to be like, oh, fuck, that was meaningless. Like it's literally understanding that this whole thing is an evolution of the craft, the creativity. And the more you seek out to understand, and the more you seek to pick up a book or pick up something new or understand conversations and relationships and the art of communication and the art of all the things that we talk about on these Be a Wolf sessions, I genuinely believe that like your craft evolution that can only get better every single day, and there's no stopping. There's no stopping. Number 2 point I wrote in my diary, and I think this is a great point, and it kind of follows up on this last point, is I went to Mount Taranaki yesterday to do a shoot for Feature Weddings. The whole team went, and we had a bunch of conversations in the car. And on the way back, we were talking about pretty much everything about like understanding money and sales and stuff like that. Like literally, our whole team is always talking about like how we can get better in terms of like the business model and how we can be a better creative agency, how we can sort of get more revenue streams and stuff like that. And we always talk about these things. Like literally, that's what we literally talk about, and it's literally to improve the business so we can be more sustainable in the creative agency side and also Feature Weddings. And there was one conversation we talked about which related to incentives, and I was like, straight off the bat, I disagreed with everybody in my team. I disagreed, and my business partner Ben was like going at me, and he disagreed with me too. And I wanted to share this point with you guys, and I think this is valuable. He was saying that like everybody needs an incentive to move, and like everybody in my team was like, "Yo, yeah, that's true," and I agree at some levels, but I feel like if you're like raising kids or teenagers or somebody that's about to go into an evolution of like coming out to the real world or going to get their first job or whatever you want to call it. Or even like starting a new business venture, if you only do things when there's a incentive involved, I promise you that when an incentive isn't involved, you ain't gonna move. You have to show up and perform without an incentive. 100%. I'm like the biggest believer in this, because when you can adopt that mindset and perform without an incentive, you're creating your own internal incentives. And I feel like a lot of times when we get lazy or we get comfortable in environments is because we're waiting for the incentive. We're either waiting for the incentive to change, or we're waiting for a better incentive, or whatever. And we're talking about some example, and we're like, okay, somebody's like just like doesn't want to like for example, like someone's just comfortable in the environment and they're just happy with it, and it's not until we give them a better incentive they're going to change. Like give them $1 million, they might change, but what's that going to teach you? Like really, like hands down, like that's why I kind of want to talk about like sometimes good things take decades, sometimes it takes even longer than that, and I feel like understanding to do things and getting out of bed and working on your business, working on your health, working on your ideas, working on your craft, wake up and do it without an incentive, without an outcome, without a reward at the end. Because in the mess is the reward. Hands down. The mess is the reward. And you discovering yourself in the mess is the incentive. I don't know. I just got so angry. I was like, man, we can't have this mindset in our team at all, because like if a client comes to us and like think about it in a client environment, like if you don't have an incentive to add value to the client, like you're not going to try. Like in a sales environment, like if you're on a phone call, right? And you think that like I'm only going to try hard on this call if I get an incentive. Like if it's your own business, like that does not make any sense. I feel like you should be able to practice things and do things without an incentive. And obviously incentives are great. I know we're using this word incentive a lot, but I feel like just show up. We need to perform without incentives in life. And I don't know, I just wanted to, I don't know if people are going to resonate with that, but I feel like, it just goes back to upbringing, to be honest, because even kids, you make sure you don't just give them what they want all the time, because it's not really building the art of negotiation within kids. And I feel like building the art of negotiation when kids are growing up and going through their teenage years and stuff like that is super valuable. And I think if you give them a better structure and show them that sometimes you got to do work without the incentive, because it's going to help them build the practice of a mindset that can really go the distance. And I feel like if you can do that, it's going to feel so much better when you get an incentive. And it's also, I feel like you're not going to have these little mood swings of oh, fuck, I'm not getting an incentive, so I'm not going to try hard. Oh, actually, I'm not getting an incentive, but I'm still going to do it because I know there's something good that's going to come regardless. And I think there's strength in that. So yeah, hopefully that helps. I'm going to try and unpack it, but just do shit without an incentive, especially when you're starting out, to be honest, because you're not going to reap in the rewards off the bat. And I just shook my camera, but you get what I mean. You're not going to get the rewards off the bat. If you do, hands out to you, but you got to lay those first foundations. And if you can do that, the discipline of doing something is far more valuable than only getting up when someone's giving you something. So yeah, practice that discipline without an incentive, and then when the incentives comes, you guys are going to kill it. All right. I just said incentives a million times in this episode, but yeah, you get the gist. Keep being you. Keep being a wolf. That's another Monday session done. I kind of want to be honest, this last 2 weeks it's been a little bit different, and it's been good spending some time in NZ. And I go back to Melbourne in about 8 to 10 days, and today's been a little bit, the emotions have been high. One of my, I don't want to leave everybody on this negative, sad note, but hopefully it gives you guys a little bit of a perspective. Is one of my cousins, she had a baby, and the baby was born early, and unfortunately the baby only survived 75 days. And I went to the funeral today, and I got to see I haven't been to a funeral in a while, and it really really changed my perspective, in terms of my thinking about a lot of things. I don't know, I'm glad I went, and I'm glad I showed up for her and her family and her partner. But, seeing that sort of grief, somebody was talking on stage today at the funeral, and they were somebody lived till 70 and somebody could live to 75. Nobody knows how much heartbeats or how much time you've got, right? And I've talked about that a lot. And I think, going back to that point, a lot of times people don't even get a chance to do something. And don't even think about the incentive stuff. They don't even get a shot at life, and life is unpredictable at the most. And that was literally the last point I wrote in my diary, is making sure that when life is good, really make the most of it, because life can change really, really quickly, and you really don't know if you're going to have 70 years or 75 days. So don't want to leave you on that note, but it's really just something to think about. And I'm just been thinking about, I'm glad I went, and glad I got to experience it, because no matter how busy you are, make sure you spend time with the people that mean the most to you, and just don't keep chasing the incentives, don't keep chasing the outcomes, and generally be in it, because like I said, you could have all the time in the world, but if you're never really present, is it really valuable? So yeah, I'm going to leave you with that. Peace and love. Keep being a wolf this week. Keep changing up. Keep being better. Keep helping. Keep growing. Keep challenging each other. Keep creating everlasting change. And keep being you. Peace and love. Let's go. 25-minute session. Woo! Man, how good is this studio lighting there? It's pretty good, eh? All right, let's go.